Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fight Forever podcast, a podcast about all things professional wrestling, but specifically focusing on mostly AEW and WWE. It's been well over a week since the last pod, and I apologize for that. I've been unwell and not sleeping well, but that's done, and we're back in full flow, and we have a lot to cover. So, excuse if you're able to hear any background sounds. It is currently over 30 degrees here in Ireland, so you might hear a little bit of background noise today. I apologize for that, but let's get started. So, an awful lot has happened in the world of professional wrestling in the last week, and we're going to cover all of it here, or the majority of it. I might need to split this up into two different episodes, so maybe an episode for today and an episode for tomorrow, and we might review Raw tomorrow as well. But I would like to discuss AEW Dynamite and Rampage from last week. We had a title change on AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest week 1 or day 1, whatever they call it. And an awful lot has happened in the pro wrestling space in terms of news. So we're going to go through a lot of news as well, both AEW and WWE. So let's get started with AEW Dynamite. So on Dynamite, it was the interim AEW champion, Jon Moxley, versus Kanusuke, I can never say his first name, Takeshita, in a match where Takeshita can earn a title shot if he gets the victory. We had the Young Bucks defending their AEW World Tag Team Championships in a triple threat match against Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, with and against Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks as well. We had a TNT Championship match, which was Wardlow versus Orange Cassidy, and we had Claudio Castagnoli against Jake Hager of the Jericho Appreciation Society. Anna Jay versus Serena Deeb, a promo by Chris Jericho. Luchasaurus killed somebody, and Christian Cage cut a promo nobody cared about. And that's pretty much all that happened. So the show starts off with the TNT Championship match, and you had Chuck and Trent Beretta, have a promo where they say they got managers' licenses, and what they're gonna do to make sure Orange Cassidy wins, they're gonna cheat. So at the bell, when the match starts, Orange Cassidy did the hands in the pockets thing, to annoy Wardlow. Wardlow tears the pockets out of his jeans, so Wardlow does the Brock Lesnar roar thing where he squeezes his arms together and pulls his straps down, and Orange Cassidy pulls the straps back up. And then the best friends tried to cheat by putting a chainsaw into the ring and in front of the referee. Nothing was subtle. It was really funny but weird. And the commentator said, and this is no word of a lie, 7 times that, oh my god, it's a chainsaw. We can see it's a chainsaw. We can, of course it's a chainsaw. We can see it. So anyways, Wardlow wins the match in the end, but Orange Cassidy does take it to Wardlow. Wardlow takes a lot of hits from Orange Cassidy, makes Orange Cassidy look good, and Wardlow wins, and then they shake hands afterwards. They then recapped Pac's defense of his All-Atlantic Championship, taking on Shota Umino in Rev Pro, and Pac retained. Chris Jericho comes out. He comes out by himself. He looks dead serious. There's no smiles, no nothing. And Chris Jericho starts talking about the barbed wire everywhere match, and basically says next week you won't be able to underestimate Chris Jericho, because it won't be Chris Jericho. You'll be against the Painmaker, who is undefeated. So that's going to be an interesting spin on things next week at Fyter Fest Day/Week 2. So we then go on to the interim AEW World Championship Eliminator. Oh, sorry, I missed something. Kingston was backstage with Ruby Soho, had about 40 seconds, and basically said he's going to kill Chris Jericho and taste his blood. The interim AEW World Championship Eliminator, Jon Moxley defeats Konosuke Takeshita, and it was, wow, a great match, a great professional wrestling match. If you're watching AEW not for the story but specifically for the wrestling, and that's all you're really watching for, my God, Takeshita and Moxley day in, day out, match in, match out, is consistently putting on the best matches you can see. And it's interesting because it's not necessarily, it's not as much technical as it feels like a fight, even though it's not a fight. And Moxley is extremely good at it. And Takeshita, on the other hand, was killing Moxley. Moxley basically put Takeshita over without putting Takeshita over. Now, to be honest, in this match specifically, I would have preferred, since Jon Moxley does not lose often, and this is a non-title match, have him lose the match. It got to the point where it got to the near end of the match, and he kicked out of the oh my God, I forget the name of it. The Paradigm Shift. He kicked out of the Paradigm Shift. And this place explodes. At this point, they're thinking, holy shit, Takeshita might actually win here. Moxley then hits the Death Rider, and he actually called it a Death Rider, Excalibur, and got him in the Bulldog rear naked choke, and chokes him out, and Takeshita taps. But yeah, oh sorry, I think it was actually the hammer and anvil elbows and then the Bulldog choke. But either way, unfortunately, Takeshita didn't get the win. We then move on to the Christian Cage promo. So we come back from break, and the Varsity Blondes, Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. are already in the ring. And Griff Garrison, he looks like Jungle Boy, basically. So Christian Cage cuts a promo saying, "Oh, I don't like this guy because this guy looks like Jungle Boy," and the crowd didn't care. And he then cuts a promo on Brian Pillman Jr. saying that his father was a wrestling man and he can respect that, but that Brian Pillman Sr. would be disgusted knowing that his last contribution to the world was Brian Pillman Jr. Yeah, the fans were not into this, mostly because the fans do not care about the Varsity Blondes. The fans don't care at all about the Varsity Blondes. So Luchasaurus kills Griff Garrison, and then we go backstage. Okay. Sorry, in my notes here, I do actually have a little bit more. Luchasaurus chokeslam Griff Garrison onto the announce table, and he hits hard, man, and the table doesn't break, so he forces him through this table, and it looked nasty. Anyways, we go backstage, and we have Daniel Garcia is backstage, cuts a promo against Wheeler Yuta, and says that he'll take the ROH Pure title at Death Before Dishonor. And then, and this is one of the funniest things that of the entire show, if not the funniest thing. So we come back from commercial break, and Tony Schiavone is talking to Hangman Adam Page, and says to Hangman, he asks him, "Are you ready?" And you see Adam Page on his phone, and all you hear is him going, "Yeah," and he's still on his phone. To which Tony Schiavone goes, "We're live." And he goes, "Oh, we're live? Oh, sorry," and puts his phone away, completely unaware that they were on live television. And this was very funny. So Hangman Page was asked about being eliminated in the Battle Royal a few weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? And John Silver and Alex Reynolds came up and said that they wanted to challenge the House of Black for Rampage. So that set up that match on Rampage. And there was a lot of confusion about this because people thought that it was going to be all three members of the House of Black versus Hangman Adam Page, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds, but that's not the case. So, before we continue, I'm going to crack open a beer because it's sunny, and why not? There we go. And our next match was Claudio Castagnoli versus Jake Hager. And Jaeger? like the alcoholic beverage. Jake Hager. And man, this surprisingly, if the AEW Tag Team Championship match wasn't on this night, this probably would have been match of the night. This was great. Hager looked good. Claudio looked good. This was a good match. So Claudio Castagnoli beats Jake Hager because he kind of had to. And then we go to Serena Deeb versus... I'm skipping over things. Serena Deeb defeats Anna Jay. They gave this match some time because I presume Anna Jay, because she is the hometown babyface, that they wanted to give her time. And there's a lot of ring rust with Anna Jay, and I'm not sure why, considering how much wrestling she has under her belt in the last year. But Serena Deeb was carrying this match. The fans weren't into the match at all, really. Up until the point where Serena Deeb has a submission on Anna Jay, I think it was a rear naked choke or something. And Anna Jay gets out of it. And at this point, people are like, wait, Serena Deeb isn't just going to win here. There's a chance Anna Jay might win. And then they get behind Anna Jay. But she still loses to the Serenity Lock. Is it called the Serenity Lock? That's what came to mind. After the match anyway, Deeb kept the hold on, and Mercedes Martinez ran out and ripped her off. And they face off for the ROH Women's Championship at Depth before Dishonor next week. Now we go to... There's a lot of promos here. Talking about Rampage, Dynamite, Depth before Dishonor. So we'll skip past all of these. So something interesting actually that happened backstage was that Anna Jay was checked on by Ty Conti, who showed up and was sad and pointed out that pointed out that she slammed Ruby Soho's hand in the car door, and Conti said that Anna Jay needed to make better choices for her career and to think about it, which is interesting. So I don't know if we're going to see an Anna Jay heel turn, or we're going to see her potentially join the Jericho Appreciation Society, or what's going to happen here. I don't have a clue. But we're going to move on to the best match of the night. And in the notes here, because I do my research before starting every podcast, I read a couple of reports. And the best way to describe this is the way that the Wrestling Observer described this, which was, this was an incredible PWG-style spot fest main event. The near falls at the end were so great. And that is probably the best way to describe this. So, the AEW World Tag Team Championship match was Swerve in Our Glory, which is Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, versus the Young Bucks and Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. So it's a triple threat match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, and man, this was absolutely fantastic. If you love professional wrestling, and I presume you do if you're listening to this podcast, if you can somehow source where to watch this, do it. It's absolutely unbelievable. And if you don't know where to source to watch this, just type in Watch AEW Reddit or something. There's going to be a link somewhere. I don't necessarily condone piracy, but at the same time, if you physically can't find anywhere to watch this and you do not have the money for a subscription, try to find this. At the end of the day, this was on free television. So it was a fantastic match. There is spot after spot after spot. But unfortunately, there is one thing that happens, and it's an injury very early on in the match to Matt Jackson. For whatever reason, there is a double suplex happening. and he gets suplexed down, and I don't know if the timing was off or what was happening, but man, he lands and he immediately holds his neck. He was completely shell shocked by this, but they completely work around it. They're super safe with Matt Jackson. If he's taking a bump, which I believe he only took one or two of after, if he's taking a bump, it was a completely safe bump. For example, there was at one stage he was, I believe, power bombed onto two guys, so they're properly protecting this guy. But at the end of the day, there is something that, oh my god, it's just false finish. So I'm gonna read this report because I think it might actually be easier than me trying to explain it, because too much happened, so much happened to the fact that I literally can't even remember bit by bit off the top of my head. So let me read this. So the Young Bucks bring the belts into the ring, but Starks stops them. Swerve grabbed the title belt and teased attacking Lee, but then he ran right into a low blow from Matt Jackson. Matt Jackson cracked everyone with the belt and covered Swerve for a good near fall. The BTE trigger followed, but Starks broke up the pin at the last second. Lee intercepted the Meltzer driver, and he and Swerve hit the Doomsday Swerve Stomp for an awesome near fall as Hobbs and Starks broke it up at the very last second. We got a parade of big moves with Hobbs hitting spinebusters on everyone. Starks rolled Swerve up for two, then crushed him with a spear for another close near fall. Brandon Cutler distracted the official, but inadvertently allowed Lee to hit the Bucks with Matt's shoe. Swerve hit the Quebrada off Lee's chest, which was absurd. Then Lee pounced Starks like crazy before landing a prosperous flip dive onto everyone. And this was awesome, by the way. Keith Lee literally just did a flip over the top rope. Sick. Swerve then hit the Swerve Stomp on Ricky Starks to win the match and the championships. And this place goes fucking nuts. And it was a fantastic episode of Dynamite. It was a fantastic swerve. We know from Brian Alvarez on the Wrestling Observer as well that the Hardys were supposed to win those AEW Tag Team Championships many weeks back, but instead they decided to put the titles on the Young Bucks. So because the Young Bucks won, people didn't expect them to lose them anytime soon, but here we are. I don't know if this was the end goal, but here we are. So I'm happy with it. I think it was a very, very, very good show. A very, very, very good show. Also at this show, they announced officially, there were signs everywhere anyway, All Out, which is in September. They announced All Out Week, which is a week-long event, and they announced Dynamite Rampage All Out. I presume that the Dynamite and Rampage shows are going to be special shows, like they're going to rename them something else because that's just what they do, or they're going to have big stipulations at them because that's just how Tony Khan works. But yeah. We are going to move on to AEW Rampage before we move on to the news. So, Kings of the Black Throne defeated the Dark Order's John Silver and Alex Reynolds in an 8-minute match. It was a good match. There were some close pinfalls. There was some good wrestling. It was quite good. And then Miro, after the match, in a pre-taped promo, it seemed like, wanted to know if God sent the House of Black to recruit him or destroy him, which was an interesting thing. We then had Jonathan Gresham versus Lee Moriarty. He retained the title, Jonathan Gresham. It was about a 9-minute match. It was a good match. But after the match, it was really strange. Jonathan Gresham, after the match, was basically saying that he's the best technical wrestler in the world. And then Claudio Castagnoli came out and taunted Gresham from the stage, which I presume set up the match for Death Before Dishonor. They didn't actually say that was the match on the show, but it's official now, I guess. We have Chris Statlander and Athena defeat Charlotte and Robin Renegade. It was 25 seconds. It was terrible. We had Tony Schiavone interviewing Billy Gunn and the Gun Club. Billy Gunn said that sometimes you just need to drop the hammer. To which the Acclaimed come out, and they're all business. Max Caster does not have a microphone, to which JR goes, "Yo, listen," in place of Max Caster, which was absolutely hilarious. To which Billy Gunn said that they can settle this like men and move on, and says to Anthony Bowens to "Scissor me, daddy ass." To which Bowens hit him with the super kick, and then they clothesline the Gun Club out of the ring, and then Max Caster does a rap that was not good, especially for Max Caster's abilities. It was a weak rap. We got Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta versus the Best Friends announced for Wednesday's Dynamite. We got Lee Moriarty and Dante Martin announced for next Friday's Rampage. And then, as I said, we actually did get an official announcement, which was Jonathan Gresham defending against Claudio Castagnoli, announced for Death Before Dishonor. And then we had the main event, which was the Lucha Bros versus Private Party. And then we had the Lucha Bros versus Private Party. Once again, good match. They gave this time, which was good. And yeah, the Lucha Bros win because Private Party never win anything ever. So yeah, it didn't feel like in any way the Lucha Bros had chemistry with Private Party. And look, I'll be honest, I liked the match. I didn't think it was that much of a mess, but I saw all the chatter online. So yeah, Rampage wasn't a great show this week. Moving on. One note as well, Excalibur was heavily pushing that Claudio has never been a world champion, which might make him the favorite going into next week. Anyways, it's time for the news. We also got Brody King and Darby Allin set for Dynamite next week. We got Christian Cage and Luchasaurus versus the Varsity Blondes in a tag team match set for next week. And obviously we have Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho, the Painmaker, in a barbed wire everywhere death match for next week. And now the news. So we have AEW's Adam Cole opts against surgery for torn labrum as per the Wrestling Observer website. So they say that Adam Cole will not be having surgery to repair his torn labrum, and that he has been out since Forbidden Door but has been working through a bad shoulder injury. And according to a report from Fightful, he has been dealing with the torn labrum since his title program with Hangman Adam Page back in March. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer noted that Adam Cole is doing therapy for his injury, and his time frame for a return is more based on his concussion injury as opposed to his torn labrum. So that's the update on Adam Cole. His update is a lot better than Bryan Danielson's, thank God. We then move on to the undisputed WWE Tag Team title match at SummerSlam. Is going to be Jeff Jarrett to be the special guest referee. This is not what people expected, but here we are. Even getting I don't want to just say get The Rock, but The Rock has talked about how Montez Ford is a star. And obviously, with his connection to the Usos, why not just get The Rock? The Rock doesn't even have to fucking wrestle. I don't get it, at all. But anyways, Jeff Jarrett is going to referee that undisputed tag team title match at SummerSlam. We see that Goldberg is still under WWE contract. He said he's waiting for the one call to happen, which conflicts reports that he was unsigned. but he is still under WWE contract. And not only did he say he was under WWE contract, he also said that contrary to urban belief, or urban rumors, or whatever you want to call it, he did not get the finish changed for Bray Wyatt versus Goldberg, where he crushed The Fiend. He said that he did not have anything to do with that, and that it would be extremely unprofessional of him if he did, and who is he to come in as a part-time guy and demand that they change the match finish? So he said he did not do that. He did not do that. And if that's the case, then everybody owes him an apology. We then move on to Andrade El Idolo is out with an ankle inflammation, and he said that it's nothing serious and he'll be back in 1 or 2 weeks. This also coincided with people being very angry that Andrade is being completely underused and being completely misused by AEW, and people want him to be in a main title program, or at least be in some championship angle, instead of constantly putting on fantastic matches but not actually having any storylines, which is interesting. I hope that he does get pushed a little bit more, because he is a fantastic wrestler, and I hope that he gets the opportunity that he deserves. We're then going to move on to WWE SmackDown. Pat McAfee cuts a promo, good promo. Yeah, McAfee basically ends the promo by saying Corbin faked monkeypox and he's going to see him at SummerSlam. And then McAfee said it's time to move on, introduce Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan defeats Natalya. It was an okay match. They didn't seem like they had the chemistry that you'd think they'd have, but I feel like more of that is down to Natalya and Liv Morgan's differences from that live event video. I don't know if anybody saw that, but at a live event, Liv Morgan hits Natalya with her finisher, and then Natalya after the match, so she sells the finisher, gets pinned immediately after, stops selling immediately after the 3 count. Sits up, points at Natalya, or points at Liv Morgan, gives out to Liv Morgan, and leaves the ring completely no selling. We then go on to Drew McIntyre defeats Rage Holland. This was a very quick match. This is just building up a little bit more substance for Drew McIntyre and Sheamus at SummerSlam. We had Madcap Moss defeating Theory by DQ, and this bugs me, because Theory does not have good matches at all, and Madcap Moss isn't necessarily known for his good matches either. They had a good match here, and it ends by disqualification, which is so annoying that WWE have to do this. Michael Cole was constantly pushing in this match that this is the future of the WWE, and you know what, Michael Cole? I agree. I think that these two guys could go to the very top, but this was a weak-ass finish. We had Angelo Dawkins defeating Jimmy Uso, which is interesting as well, because the Usos are going into SummerSlam kind of looking weak, which I did not expect to happen. And that basically ends SmackDown after they show a Jeff Jarrett video package. And I believe that is the end of all of my things. Oh, there's one more. WWE going TV-14. So this one here is, it's kind of hard for me to get my honest opinion on this, because I feel like the product isn't going to change even if it is TV-14 really. So I was listening to a podcast. Actually, there's 2 sources for this. I was listening to a podcast, and I was also listening to Wrestling Observer Live, and both made the same point, which is WWE does not need swearing to be a better product. What they need is better writing to be a better product. And writing has nothing to do with the TV rating. And they specifically brought up the fact that SmackDown in the mid-2000s was the superior show to Raw. And SmackDown was PG and Raw was TV-14. And that stems all the way back to the 90s as well, when Raw was PG or TV-14 and oh no, sorry, I'm wrong with that. Sorry. But when it comes to these storylines, I was going to say that WCW was PG, but I don't actually think it was. But when it comes to these, like this whole story, the annoying thing about this story is that people are thinking that this is going to bring WWE back to its glory days. And here's the thing. It will not. It will not bring WWE back to its glory days. And the reason why is because they are making so much money. They are making more money now than ever. And apparently the TV-14 deal is to do with the USA Network and not to do with WWE themselves. At the end of the day, the sponsors talk. So if the advertisers that want to advertise during the show are happy with the product being TV-14 and that's what the USA Network want, they're probably going to do it. Unless their own sponsors outside of the actual television show itself are against it, then it's probably going to happen eventually. So Andrew Zarian announced this and said that this was happening. This has been backed up by Sean Ross Sapp and by Brian Alvarez, that there was an internal memo sent out to all of the staff saying that from July 18th, Raw is going to be a TV-14 product. Now, after that report got released, it seems that WWE had some regrets about how fast they were doing this, or some doubts at the very least. So they have now reversed that memo and said that it's under consideration. So TV-14 is probably going to happen, but doesn't look like it's going to happen this week or next week, but it will happen in the future, I am sure. I don't think them saying shit every 2, 3, 4 times an hour or bitch is going to make the show any better. I feel like it's poorly written. It's too long. The 3-hour Raw thing is too long. Raw went to 3 hours, and no joke, as soon as it went to 3 hours that week, I stopped watching. Because it is too much television. It's too long. There's not enough wrestling on the show. There's too much junk on the show. WWE is an entertainment product, not a sports product. Hence why they promote themselves that way. They're not a wrestling product. They're not a sports product. They're an entertainment product. Hence why they coined the term sports entertainment to begin with. So that is the end of today's show. I tore through my notes very quickly. I will probably be back tomorrow to talk about a little bit more AEW news, because there's actually more news. I just don't want to spend an hour here today because the heat is ridiculous. So head over to twitter.com/fightforeverpod and feel free to tweet us. And also, we have been endorsed by Kenny Omega, who liked one of my tweets. So we can officially say that the Fight Forever pod has been endorsed by Kenny Omega. No, we can't. We can't say that. But we can. Kenny Omega knows we exist. So that is the episode today. Thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.